One of my clients called, she's a newish PI, and she got her grant rejected. She got feedback from the reviewers, and she's going to use that to improve her proposal and submit to a different funding program. So I was telling her, look, you've done all you can. This is the game. This is part of the process. I've been through that too. And she was just like, I know. I've done a good job, but I'm still upset. And that's normal. So I was just like, you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna take the day off. And here's why. Failure is a feature. It's not a bug. And if you're not failing, if some of your grants are not getting rejected, if some of your papers are not getting rejected, then that's bad science. That's not the way that this works. But I know it's hard because you're constantly being evaluated. And even when you know that you should be failing, what if I fail? That feeling, that what if I fail is a feeling because you've done everything that you possibly could and you know that you will fail. So that fear, that's something that we all deal with. So today I'm gonna cover why controlling your feelings doesn't work and what you should be doing instead. By the end of this episode, you're gonna have a step-by-step approach to dealing with failure. And that's what you're gonna use the next time your grant gets rejected, because it will. That's part of the process. If we haven't met yet, I'm Kathy Terrestia. I'm a physicist and a career coach for scientists, and I teach practical, quantitative, step-by-step methods to build a career and therefore a life that you love. If you're not exactly sure how to do that when failure is a part of the job, I get it, and I got you. Hit the subscribe button below and the bell next to it to get my weekly training videos, and take the Scientist Superpower Quiz at kathy.science/quiz. It'll help you identify and articulate your strengths as a scientist so that you know what makes you stand out. I'll link it down below so that you can use that framework to help you get on the right track. All right, let's do this. Failure. Hit like. If you've ever done the absolute best that you can, there wasn't a single hole, not in your science, not in your delivery, nothing, and you still got rejected. And that felt like shit. Yeah, haven't we all? I once came home from a faculty interview, and it was by far the best that I had ever given. And I didn't get the offer. And I called my best friend who had helped me, and she was just like, yeah, sucks. However, when we are sitting on the beach drinking margaritas, we'll know that we did the best we could. We knocked it out of the park. And that's true. And in retrospect, she's absolutely right, and I'm glad that I didn't get the offer, but it still feels bad. And I know that feeling really well. So when my client called to ask, how do I control my feelings? The answer was, you don't. You can do that in the short term if you just gotta get through the day. But you got 20 years of being a professor in front of you, and that means a lot of rejections. In the long term, that strategy won't work. It'll make you feel miserable, and it'll turn this dream job that we worked really hard to get you, by the way, into a nightmare. So what should you do instead? First, put the rejection into perspective. Your feelings about your feedback fall into one of two categories. One, the reason for the rejection doesn't even make sense. For example, I was walking down the street and one of my neighbors was telling me, your children are really loud, can't you control them? And I was just confused because I don't have any children. What is she talking about? I was not hurt or angry because I know that the feedback doesn't make any sense. It's not intended for me, or it was not meant for me, or it's her own problem. Two, the feedback does make sense. For example, I was walking my dog this afternoon and saw a little girl and she started growling, and the guy was just like, get away from my little girl, can't you control your dog? And I felt hurt and offended as well, because it is true. I wish that Luna was a little bit better around children of the neighborhood. So, okay, that feeling does make sense. But don't put all your feelings into category two. Your publication record might have this dip in it, but your proposal was really strong. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been invited, and you know that. So if the committee attacked your proposal, it makes sense to feel confused, but hurt and angry, not so much. That is that particular committee member's thing. That's category 1. If you feel hurt and angry instead for that particular thing where you know that your proposal is good enough, then it could be that your thoughts are driving the car here, and they are giving you this hypothesis of I'm not good enough. And from last week's work, I'm not good enough is a hypothesis that may or may not be true. As a scientist, you should be questioning it. I'll bet it's not true because you passed the first round. So when that thought comes up, thank you, I hear you, I love you, I'm gonna keep walking. But don't intervene at the level of feelings in that same way, because feelings are a different beast. They're one level deeper and they require a different approach. Even if there's nothing you can do about it now, you'll resubmit, but for now, it's over. You're still allowed to feel anxious or scared or angry or frustrated, whatever it is. But my clients always want to shut the door against that feeling. Don't do it. It will just come back. It's like that neighbor that you don't really like that keeps knocking at the door, that keeps ringing the doorbell. There's only so many times you can open the door and be like, actually, I'm busy right now, or shut the door in their face, or rip the doorbell out. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to let them in. You do the same thing with your feelings. Okay, when you're at work, shut the door in its face. But when you get home, see if you can't invite that feeling in for 5 minutes for tea and blueberry muffins. And how hard that is, of course, depends on the feeling. For example, fear is a tiger. It's really, really difficult to sit next to it on the couch, even for 30 seconds. But sadness, that I can deal with. My client, for her, sadness is impossible to deal with. She just can't let it in, not even for 5 minutes, not even for 30 seconds. And actually my question for her was, if I came to you and I was crying, would you shut the door in my face because my grant got rejected? And she was like, no, of course not. Well, when you're doing that to yourself, to your own sadness and disappointment, then you're rejecting yourself. And that feeling that comes up is a part of you, actually. So befriending your feelings begins with letting it in and allowing it to have its say, whether you agree with it or not. This is not about agreeing with it. Rational thought has gone out the window. You've already done everything that you can. So the purpose of this exercise is to understand that that feeling is a part of you, and rejecting it is like rejecting yourself. It doesn't work. Wherever you go, there you are again. I know that it's not easy to make friends with the feelings that come up as part of rejection, but you can using this approach, and you will, and you must actually. Otherwise, you'll never make it as a scientist. Your dream job will make you miserable, and burnout is right around the corner. And I don't want that for you. So here's what you're gonna do when you get home. Step 1, sit down in a physically comfortable position, as comfortable as you can. You can even lie down for this one. It requires no papers, no pencil, no nothing. 2, set a timer for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and take a few deep belly breaths. 3, open the door to that shitty feeling of rejection, whatever it is. Fear, anger, frustration, hurt, anxiety. Can you just try to say to the feeling, welcome, old friend. I have a full schedule today, but since you rang the bell, come on in for 5 minutes. Do you want some tea, coffee, if my husband is available to make it for you? Blueberry muffins, rum sugar cookies, a gin and tonic? What can I say? Different feelings have different preferences. And even if it's just for 30 seconds, can you say, have a seat. It's okay. You can stay for a little while. I have 5 minutes for you. I'm here for you. I'm here with you. It will be physically uncomfortable. You're gonna wanna get up and run away. You're gonna wanna open your eyes. You're gonna wanna just stop. It's okay. You don't have to stay for the whole 5 minutes. Stay for as long as you are able to be with those physical sensations that are associated with those feelings. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch last week's video where I discuss that feelings cause a physical reaction that can be uncomfortable, that the committee can see, that we can all see. And step 6, just like that neighbor that you don't like, once fear has finished its tea and blueberry muffins, you can be like, thanks for dropping by, old friend. It was a pleasure to be with you. come back anytime. My door is always open. You can always find tea and blueberry muffins and rum sugar cookies in this house whenever you need a friend. If my husband is home from the States, maybe you can even find the best coffee ever. And there you have it, how to deal with the feelings that come with rejection in 6 simple steps. Simple, but not easy. This is the hardest homework I'll ever give you. I swear, I really promise. I know that it's difficult. And remember, this is for a specific feeling in a specific situation where you've already done the best you can. You've already learned from that failure, and there's nothing more that you can do now to help resolve that situation. If I feel anxious about recovering from my illness, I'm not gonna offer my anxiety a gin and tonic. First, I'm gonna go to the pharmacy, pick up my prescription meds, and take them. I'm gonna solve the actual problem. So if you're like, I'm stressed all the time, or I'm anxious about getting this grant, then that's a qualitative feeling, and maybe you need to go back and do last week's homework and intervene at the level of thought. You can find the log at kathy.yoga/log and fill that out so that you can collect the data behind those feelings. When you know exactly what thoughts are bringing up that feeling, then you have the quantitative data to decide if you can and will do something about it or not. After we did this together with my client who got her grant rejected, she said, but I can't reapply to this one, and I'm running out of time, and I need a grant, and I don't have time to find and write another one. And that's a hypothesis. That's true. Writing a grant takes time. Resubmitting takes time. She needs this grant in order to fund her lab. And as a PI, you don't have endless time. This rejection did cost her time. So next week, we're going to discuss how to spend your time. If this video is helpful and you're going to invite anger and fear in for tea and blueberry muffins for 5 minutes the next time your grant gets rejected, forward it to your colleagues who are also wrongly trying to control their feelings when their grant gets rejected, so that they can use this method too and learn how to handle failure, which is an important part of the job. And let me know so I can make more helpful videos by commenting below with questions, comments, and concerns, or by hitting like and subscribe. And I will see you next week.